In this episode, I'm going to be interviewing Bruce Lee historian, artist, and collector Steve Wallen, and it's coming right up. Let's move over to Robert Lee, because I know you sent me some great photos of you and Robert Lee, and you seem like you really got close to Robert and got to know him. So how did you first meet Robert, and how did that come about? And then what are some of the stories that, you know, Robert shared with you on Bruce and some of these first-hand stories?
Well, it's funny, when I first met him, my friend told me to do a painting of him and take it to him, you know, to kind of break the ice. And so we met him at a restaurant in Monterey Park. And he goes, oh wow, this is great. He goes, just happens today's my birthday. I go, oh shoot, mine's tomorrow. So it kind of broke the ice. And so we went and we were having lunch, and every time I would meet somebody that knew Bruce, I'd always ask him, what's the most incredible feat you've seen him do? Because he could do all these incredible things. And he said, oh, that one's easy. He goes, when we lived at the house, he used me as the dummy. So when he did his backyard, training, he said, Robert, come here, I want to demonstrate something. So Robert had chopsticks, and he goes, say these are Bruce's legs. He threw a kick at my shin, a kick at my midsection, a kick at my head, but real fast.
Wow.
But he said, don't move, because if you move, you're going to get hurt. And he said, from full power, a fraction of an inch. You could feel his hair go, And he goes, I go, wow. He goes, that's probably one of the most incredible. But Bruce was a prankster. He said when they moved, no one ever heard of nunchucks, right?
Yeah.
So he said, hey Robert, come here, I want to show you something. So he brought these wooden, hard nunchucks, and he had Robert stick his hand out. I said, hey, feel that? Robert goes, yeah, it's pretty hard. He goes, now check this out. He starts, wielding the nunchuck. Robert goes, oh, that's pretty good, man. He goes, okay, let's go have some lunch. So they're walking down the hall, and next thing you know, he hears, ah! And Robert turned around, and Bruce hits him over the head with a nunchuck. Robert freaks out, and Bruce switched him with foam.
Oh, the foam nunchucks. Oh, that's a funny story. Well, they say Bruce was always a prankster, right? He was a natural joker. He liked having fun. Oh, that's a
Robert
great...
Robert said he was training, a guy was training in Wing Chun. Robert was going to school up north, and talking about how he was great in Wing Chun. So he said, Bruce said, hey, bring him on by. Let's see what he can do.
Because that was Bruce's first style, right?
Oh, yeah. So Robert brought the guy down, and Bruce said, okay, man. He goes, you know what? He goes, we'll do some chi sao, but you're just a beginner. Let me put a blindfold on. And then he said Bruce wanted to teach this guy a lesson. Robert said he just smacked the crap out of this. This guy had welts and stuff, and just to humble him. Oh, yeah.
And this guy had many years of training Wing Chun.
Well, I guess he was just
learning. He
was a beginner, but he
Bruce
thought, hey, I'm a Wing Chun man. Bruce had to humble him.
Oh, interesting story, man. So Robert witnessed all that firsthand of his brother.
Oh, yeah.
Wow, those are some great stories also. And any others that stand out for you that Robert may have shared with you? Or?
Yeah, well, God, there's so many, man.
I know.
Well, I guess Robert has some footage, some home movie stuff, but they're real brittle now. But God, I'd love to see what's on some of that stuff, But yeah, he.
What is the footage of?
Like the backyard workouts, the stuff at Bruce Lee's Hong Kong Mall. Oh yeah, I mean, I'm sure there's stuff with maybe McQueen on there and all that. But
and Robert has some of that footage.
Robert has some of that footage. Wow. I think some's on the internet with Wu Nan and Dan Inosanto, where Bruce is on the balcony and he's just like choreographed for Game of Death, like twirl now Dan and stuff like that. And then there's some where Bruce is buying a new camera, and they're in Chinese. The lady's telling him how to do the focus and all that stuff. But you see Shannon, and she, Bruce is singing to her, Daddy's little girl. And he zooms in on Brandon. Brandon's making faces and stuff, and he films Linda and stuff. He's kind of filming the garden.
And this is when Bruce first bought the video camera. And so he was videoing all that, and Robert has some of that footage?
Yeah, but I think it's so brittle, I don't think it could be transferred.
Wow, did you saw some of that?
A little bit.
A little bit of it? Wow, it's nice, man. Wow, that's
Robert
great.
was kind enough to show me.
Well, one day, hopefully, some of that will be released. You never know, right?
Nice.
With all the new technology now, if they can get that brittle film to high definition, that would be awesome.
They can restore stuff now.
Oh, yeah, man. That would be
but I would
incredible.
love to see that,
Wow, man. It gives us hope that there's this footage out there as per Robert Lee.
Yeah, we went to London together in 2001 and did a convention. And one story that stands out was you think, okay, everybody knows Bruce Lee. And Robert, he was a famous musician in Hong Kong and stuff. Well, we went to go to like a bookstore, and this little kid came up with a paper and a pencil, and he was shaking. I'm kind of looking. He goes up to Robert, and he goes, "Can I have your autograph?" And Robert said, "Yeah, absolutely." gives it, signs it, gives it to him. And I told Robert, how do you feel when someone does that? He goes, it's all Bruce, man.
Look at that, man. Yeah.
Robert so that's probably a big influence, England. He was huge in England. In England, they didn't allow the nunchuck scene.
They cut all that out. I know. It was too violent. Yeah.
So when they did the uncut version of Way of the Dragon and stuff, I mean, we actually, at Robert's house, Phoebe came by one time, and we screened that when they uncut it. And we were watching it, and remember the scene when Bruce is on the toilet, he's standing up, and the guy looks at him, and Bruce closes the door. I looked over at Phoebe, and she had tears coming down her eye. I'm like, what's the matter, Phoebe? Are you okay? She goes, that's the way it was. That's the way it was in Hong Kong. She goes, that's Bruce. That's really the way he was.
Amazing.
It's like seeing my brother again,
Is that what she said?
Like, wow.
Yeah.
So it was so great to see it with Robert and Phoebe watching
Return the uncut version, right?
Uncut version. Because because that was cut out too. The toilet scene, all the nunchuck,
him eating the soup at the table,
right. And
joking around.
And when what's her name comes in, remember he's throwing the kicks in the mirror.
Oh the prostitute,
what's her
right?
name? Melissa Longo.
Yeah. And he's throwing that was cut out in the beginning.
Yeah. So they put all that back.
Yeah, I read that. I think Linda Lee said it in one of her books that of all the films, that character that Bruce played in Return of the Dragon was the closest to the way Bruce really was, right, in real life, and that's why she says I think that was one of her favorite movies because it was the closest.
Well, remember, he wrote it, directed it, produced it, chose the locations, chose the cast.
So it was all him.
It was all him.
Yeah.
So it was a Bruce Lee. Yeah.
Yeah, that's him.
And that's when he broke away from Lo Wee. Remember?
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Yeah, he got out. Him and Lo Wee were like, I hate this guy as a director, and I want to start. And him and Raymond Chow, after the 2-picture contract, they started their own company.
Yeah. That's when he went off and did Return of the Dragon, Way of the Dragon. Yeah. Wow. Those are great stories, man.
Thank you.
So let's see. We covered Anna Capri. We did a little Robert Lee. You want to talk about
Sammo? Yeah.
Sammo Hung? Because you told me some great stories about Sammo Hung.
Oh, yeah.
So how did you meet him? And then so what was your introduction to Sammo like? And then what did he share with you?
Well, we actually went to his house because they were going to do the 30th anniversary of Enter the Dragon.
Okay.
And he was going to be on the special features part. So
now, how did you get to meet all these people? Like, who connected you to all these people? Was just one thing led to the other, and
right? But my friend David Tadman, he's the one that got all this going.
Oh wow! So he knew them, and then he would bring you along, and you got a chance to meet. Wow! Look at that, fantastic,
great
man!
Guy,
Yeah! Wow!
So I'd go on these projects with him.
Yeah.
I'd help him. I'd be like the production assistant or just whatever, drive him, whatever he wanted me to do. And so we got to go to Sammo's, his house, beautiful mansion. In LA. In LA. That's when he was doing, I think, martial law. Yeah. So anyways, we get there, and Sammo can't speak English that good.
Yeah.
So he had his wife interpret. So when David would ask him a question, he would be like, he'd look at his wife. Oh, okay, I understand. So I'm just standing there, and so he was asked, how do you first meet Bruce Lee? And he goes, I met him at Golden Harvest. I was just a stunt guy getting into the business, but we all heard about Bruce Lee, how fast he was. So he said, I went up to Bruce, said, hey, heard you're pretty fast. Now these stunt guys were the real deal.
Yeah.
You had to show them. It couldn't be hearsay. So he went up to him and he goes, heard you're pretty fast. And Bruce goes, yeah, you want to see? Yeah, I want to see. And Sammo said, I went to throw a kick, my leg got halfway up, and Bruce's foot's already on my head.
Kicked right to the head.
And he said, but he stopped it, and he goes, so what do you think? He goes, yeah, you're fast.
You're fast.
That was his first meeting.
Wow, so the minute his kick came up, boom!
It was already on
his head. Yeah. Wow, that's amazing.
Yeah, and then Enter the Dragon.
Yeah.
We were going to film Enter the Dragon. He, I guess, Bruce was doing Game of Death, and then, he had to shelve it because of Enter the Dragon, put it on hold. And he wanted Sammo to be in Game of Death.
Oh, interesting.
You got to be in Game of Death, because Sammo, he could do all these acrobat, Sammo's legend. So Bruce, I want you to be in Game of Death. Don't do anything else, like in other words, just wait for me. So I had to work, I had to support myself, So Bruce did Enter the Dragon, took, 12 weeks in Hong Kong, and then he wanted to pick up Game of Death again. Well, the first scene in Enter the Dragon was actually the last scene shot.
That's what I heard.
Because Bruce wanted to open the film with a pow, and I guess it opened another way, so he called Sammo.
And Bruce came up with that idea, right, with the opening scene. It wasn't in there before.
No.
Yeah.
He wanted the movie to start out with a bang. Yeah. And Sammo said, okay, so going back to the footage, I guess they went to Bruce's house, and he said for like 2 days, Bruce filmed it.
So they pre-filmed it.
They were rehearsing it.
on Bruce's camera that he bought.
Just to get it down and stuff. Because Sammo said, look, I got to go back. I'm on a project. I can only be here for a couple days, and I got to go back. So Bruce said, okay. So they went to the house. He said, didn't take much for us to, and he goes, so, we got on the set. He said, well, we're both in the makeup chair. And Bruce looked over at Sammo and said, you know what, I don't like you. And Sammo, why? What did I do to you? He goes, you promised me, you're a liar. You promised me you're going to be in Game of Death. He goes, yeah, but you stopped. He goes, I had to work. I had to support myself. No, you're a liar. I don't like you. He said, okay, whatever. So they filmed the scene, and it came out so great and stuff. Great. Bruce was real happy with it. So at the end of the scene, went to Sammo. He goes, I like you. And so he said he got his passport and went back to his other project.
Look at that! Yeah, wow. Yeah. So who has that footage that Bruce filmed in Sammo's? It was Bruce's house.
In Bruce's house, but I would imagine.
Camera. So something's out there.
Either the family has it, or
the estate, or Robert has it.
Yeah, but it's probably so brittle now.
Yeah.
Can you imagine the stuff that's on there?
Oh man!
Not just Sammo, but all the other stuff.
Because Bruce filmed everything. When he had that movie camera for the first time, he was filming everything. Right.
He was into it. He was into photography. Remember the shots on the set of him with the big long lenses?
Yeah.
He was into photography. So when he was learning, to get the new camera. In Chinese, Robert was saying the lady was telling him how to do the zoom and how to do the lighting and all that, and she was teaching him how to use the new camera. I think that's what they shot the Sammo.
Wow. Now, what was that other thing you mentioned? You mentioned an Enter the
George
shin,
told me?
Yeah, the shin guards.
Yeah. George Lee told me that, he goes, you know why Bruce wore those shin guards in the opening scene? I go, part of the costume, right?
That's what I thought.
No. He goes, Bruce could develop his upper body. He could never develop those calves, and he was really self-conscious about it. So he knew he was going to be in these skimpy shorts and all that. So he put on that
the black shin guards
to make it look, legs look bigger.
Oh wow, interesting story. Yeah. So who told you that? George Lee
told me that.
Wow, I would never knew that. I just thought it was part of the costume. The finger gloves, the black shorts,
I thought it was part of the costume.
And the shin guards. But he did it more because he was self-conscious of his calves.
Right.
He had very skinny calves, I guess. Oh wow,
and he couldn't build them.
Yeah.
He could build everything else, but he just couldn't.
Well, that's genetics a lot of time. Yeah, and so calves are really
Chinese. It's probably hard for him to
build. Yeah, that area of the body. Yeah. Wow, interesting story, man. Yeah. That's a great one.
Yeah.
All right, so we went through some of these, Anna, Robert. We talked a little bit about Sammo. You want to move on to Bob Wall?
Yeah, that one's interesting.
So how'd you meet Bob? What was that like? When did you first meet him?
Stay tuned for part 3, where Steve Walling continues to share first-hand Bruce Lee stories from Bob Wall.